Hello everyone, welcome to IS Baba 60 days rapid revision series for Prelims 2022. This is day 18 and today we are taking up environment and ecology. So some of the topics related to the national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, wetlands and some of the government schemes. So those are the topics of discussion today. So we begin with the biodiversity hotspots. Friends, many questions have come and here according to Conservation International, so mark this Conservation International as the organization which declares a biodiversity hotspot. So this gives some 2 to 3 criteria, that is the region should have at least 1500 species of vascular plants and they should have a high degree of endemism. That means it should contain some native plants and animals and along with that some 1500 species of vascular plants. Vascular plants means the plants which have xylem and the phloem tissues, and then it must contain 30% or less of its original habitat. So that means if a habitat is 100%, so it must have been reduced to 30%. That means it must be threatened by various other actions. Then coming to India, so India has 4 biodiversity hotspots embedded within it, that is the Himalayas, then Indo-Burma region, then Western Ghats and Sundaland. So here I have a brief map. Friends, all over the world there are 17 to 18 biodiversity hotspots. So India has 4 of them. We can see that is the Himalayan hotspot is one, and then most of the northeast that will come under Indo-Burma, and then we have Western Ghats here, the third one. Okay, and then Indo-Burma, so and the Sundaland, they cover Andaman and Nicobar Islands here. So that means 4. So if you neglect this Andaman and Nicobar, so you will not include Sundaland and you will write only 3. So make sure that you will not commit mistakes. Then come to next. So recently the National Tiger Conservation Authority has designated Guru Gasidas National Park and Timor Pingla Wildlife Sanctuary as a tiger reserve. So here NTCA, it is a statutory body under Ministry of Environment. So mark this, and also it is being established under the Wildlife Protection Act. Then important points here, it is that it is located in the northern part of Chhattisgarh bordering Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand. So we will have a brief map of that as well the later. Then approval was granted under the section 38V clause 1 of Wildlife Protection Act. So this is the clause which declares a tiger reserve. Then it will be the 4th tiger reserve in Chhattisgarh after Udanti Sitanadi, then Achanakmar and then Indravati Reserve. Then Guru Gasidas National Park was the last known habitat of Asiatic cheetahs. So mark this as important here. So Asiatic cheetahs, so they have been extinct now. So they were last present in this. And then it provides a corridor for tigers to move between Bandhavgarh of Madhya Pradesh and Palamu of Chhattisgarh. So here we have a brief map. So below Sanjay Park, so across the border, so here we have Guru Gasidas and here we can see Timor Pingla, and here somewhere Bandhavgarh will be there and here Palamu will be there. So one more map, so it is like Bandhavgarh Fort very below of Panpata, and then here we have the Timor Pingla and the Guru Gasidas. So Palamu can be located here, and here we have 2 important sagars, that is Ban Sagar and the GB Pant Sagar. And here we have Swan River and also here we have the Koel River. Friends, likewise whenever you study a map, you should study the surrounding areas also. Say for example, the Didwana, Kuchuman, Katu, so these lakes were asked in prelims. So that means if you had studied the nearby areas of Sambar Lake, so all these you will get because they are very nearer. And if you had studied at least any one of them, so that would have given a good hint for the guesswork. Then come to next, the newly added wetlands and sanctuaries. So here Raimona, so Raimona National Park of Assam. So before the Dhing Patkai, so this was added. Okay, and here the Raimona is situated in the Gasaigon region inside the Bodoland Territorial Region. Okay, so across the boundary of Bhutan. And then Raimona National Park is limited by the Saralbanga stream on the east and then Pekwa waterway on the south and then Sankosh waterway in the west. Say for example, here if we have the Raimona here, then for the east, so here we have Saralbanga and then in the west we will be having Sankosh, and from the south we will be having the Pekwa. So Pekwa will be here. Okay, so likewise, and then it is inhabited by golden langur. So we discuss about golden langur a bit later. So here we have a brief map of the Raimona National Park. So here it is Raimona, very nearer to the Phipsov of Bhutan, and then here we can see the Manas National Park is present and Manas River that flows here, and then Baksa is very next to it, and here the rivers of Saralbanga, then Pekwa, so all those things they might be present here. So Google map will not show that. So just zoom it and just identify those rivers which are given. Then come to next, Lunar Lake. So here Lunar Lake is present in Maharashtra. So here we can see Aurangabad very nearer to it, and then Akola also we can identify here. And moreover friends, with this lunar lake, there are several other lakes which are very nearby. Okay, so make sure that you will have a brief look at all those lakes so that you will have a hint to the guessworks. So Malegaon, so all those things, so they are present here. So just have a brief look. Okay, then come to next, we have the Sokar Lake. So Sokar Lake was also added in 2020s. Okay, so that is why it becomes important. So Sokar is a salt lake and it is very next to your Pongongso and Somoriri lakes. So we have two saltwater lakes here, and then very next to it we have the Nubra Valley. So Nubra is one of the tributaries of Indus. Okay, so that is why we can locate that here. And here we can have the Diosai National Park which is present, and very next to the Sokar we have Hemis High Altitude National Park, and very next to it we have the Kishtwar Doda National Park. So remember all these things. Okay, then come to the next, we have some of the species. That is, Australia lists koalas as the endangered species. So koalas, they have the vulnerable. So koalas, so they look like this. Okay, so they belong to some bear family. Okay, so but they are not gigantic, they are small in nature. So Australia has listed it, but although Australia has listed as endangered, but in IUCN we have it as the vulnerable status. So might be even the IUCN will change it next time. And then Kojaijana Bamuni Hill Wildlife Sanctuary. So Assam Forest Department has issued a preliminary notification for converting the patches of forest into the Kojaijana Bamuni Hill Wildlife Sanctuary. So this is a patch of forest right now, and now it is going to be converted as the Kojaijana Bamuni Hill Wildlife Sanctuary. So it is a wildlife sanctuary located on the hills, and it is one of the better known homes of the golden langurs. Okay, so remember the scientific name of golden langurs, that is Trachypithecus gee, and they are found only in Assam and Bhutan. So mark this only, it is not an extreme, it is actually correct. And then the golden langur is an old world monkey. Friends, what is old world and the new world monkeys? So monkeys present in Asia and Africa, so they are called old world monkeys, and the monkeys present in America, so they are called the new world monkeys. Then it is found in western Assam and Black Mountains of Bhutan. Okay, so this is the regions in which they are found, and they are endangered in IUCN status. So here we can see the golden langur. So friends, along with that, so also revise what is a langur, what is a macaque, and then what is a chimpanzee, what is a gorilla. Okay, so all these are various stages of evolutions, and we have all these monkeys, primates, so before the man evolved. Okay, so macaques, langurs, and then chimpanzees, gorillas. So and between we also get gibbons. So make sure that you will have a brief look at all these animals. And then come to next, then Septamaranthus. So Septamaranthus, the genus Septamaranthus grows on the plant species, that is Horsfieldia glabra. So here it is a parasitic plant. So Septamaranthus is a parasitic plant, and most of the Amaranthus family, so all these are parasites. So we can remember likewise Amaranthus family. Then parasitic flowering plants have a modified root structure spread on the stem of the tree. Okay, so here we have the modified root structure, and on the stem we can have these. Okay, so they will leave the roots on the stems of other plants, and then they have been discovered from the Nicobar groups of island. So here points to be remembered is the Septamaranthus. It is a parasitic plant, and it is present in Nicobar group of islands. And then come to next, a nematode infestation has led to mass mortality of spot-billed pelicans. Okay, so the scientific name of spot-billed pelicans, that is Pelicanus philippensis. So that means it is endemic to Philippines. Okay, so at Telinilapuram, important bird area in Andhra Pradesh. So remember Telinilapuram, it is an important bird area in Andhra Pradesh, and which NGO will declare an important bird area? That is BirdLife International. So the IUCN status is near threatened, and the Wildlife Protection Act, so that puts in the schedule 4 of this. So here we can see the picture of the pelican. Okay, then coming to next, the Arunachal Pradesh has approved the large brightly colored Kaiser-i-hind butterfly as the state butterfly. So here we can take a look of this. So it looks like a tricolor. So that's why Kaiser-i-hind. And then it flies high in the canopy of the broad-leaf temperate green forests found in eastern and western Himalayas. So they are present in eastern and western Himalayas. So mark this. And then the protection status. So in the IUCN it is near threatened, and in the CITES it is Appendix 2, and the Wildlife Protection Act it is Schedule 2. So mark this as important. And then next comes the black-necked crane. So it is declared as the state bird of Ladakh, and black-necked crane is a medium-sized crane of Asia, and it is having the Schedule 1 in the Wildlife Protection Act, and its status is near threatened, and in the sides it is again appendix 1. So here we can see the black necked crane. So the neck is black. Friends, whenever you get the bird's name, so they will be having the black neck, white throat, yellow chin, so likewise. So that is only the bird species, because in the birds only that coloration for every species comes. Say for example in tiger, if some have a black stripes on the back, so other tigers will not be having. So we cannot say that animals will be having uniform colorations, but birds, so all black-necked cranes, all species of this black-necked crane, they will be having the neck in black colors. So that is why if such the parts and the colors, if they come, so make sure that you will go with the birds only. So that trend, if you understand, so that is more than sufficient. You need not buy out everything, because when UPSC gives a question, it gives 2 to 3 birds. Okay. So then come to next, Miss Kerala. So it is a native freshwater fish species of Karnataka and Kerala, and has been included in the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act Amendment Bill. So we know that recently the Wildlife Protection Act Amendment Bill is going on. So in that, this is put in the Schedule 1, and it is also known as the Denizon barb or the lead-line torpedo, and it is also called as rose-line shark. Okay, a very beautiful fish to look at. And then its scientific name is Sahyadria denizoni. So that means the Sahyadris, the Western Ghats. So that is endemic to the Western Ghats. That is why it is the name. Then IUCN status is vulnerable. Then the Wildlife Institute of India conservation biologists will begin the collaring of the fishing cats. Okay, so the scientific name of fishing cat is Prionailurus the viverinus. Okay, so this is a fishing cat. It is present in Andhra Pradesh, Odisha region. Okay, and in the Koringa Wildlife Sanctuary of Andhra Pradesh. So the Wildlife Institute of India personnel, they are going to collar these. That means they will put a collar and they will study this. And here the IUCN status of this fishing cat is endangered, and the CITES status is Appendix 2, and in the Wildlife Protection Act it is Schedule 1. Okay, so all these Schedule 1 species, so they will become important, and whenever the scientists and the biologists they study this, we have to update. Then come to next, the Biological Diversity Amendment Bill 2021. So here the amendment clauses, what are those? That is, the bill encourages the cultivation of medicinal plants. Okay, so mark this as important. So for Ayush people, it is related. Then regulating the access of biological resources and monitoring that access. So like they are giving some freedom for the people who are working in Ayush medicines to access to the biological resources, and at the same time they will monitor how they are accessing. So whether they are accessing only up to the permitted limit or whether they are over accessing. So all this will be regulated. Then it exempts Ayush practitioners from intimating biodiversity boards for accessing biological resources. So without intimating, so they can access. So some freedom and leverage has been given to them for research purposes. Then it facilitates fast tracking of research, simplifying the patent application process, and decriminalizes certain offences. Then to bring more foreign investments in biological resources, research and patent and commercial utilization. So mainly in the research and development process, this amendment will be useful. So remember friends, this Biodiversity Act, so that is mainly related to the heritage and the sharing of the knowledge of the heritage and access to the knowledge of the heritage. And it is not going for any protection or any penalization or any other such clauses under this Biodiversity Act. All those are catered by the Wildlife Protection Act. Then come to next, the anti-smog tower in Delhi. So here we have an anti-smog tower that was constructed in China. So on those lines, even in Delhi, we are going to have this. So a smog tower is being planned for the National Capital Region, Delhi, to create a clean air zone in the region. And then the smog tower is one of the devices to control air pollution in NCR Delhi. So we are emulating Chinese model, and it is expected to reduce particulate matter by 50%. So this is huge. And then the filters being installed would use the carbon nanofibers as a major component. So here mark it as nanofibers. Okay, so they are using the fibers made up of the graphene. Then smog towers are usually fitted with multiple layers of air filters with clean the air of pollutants as it passes through them. So as and when the air passes through them, so the clean air will be passed out here. So they are absorbing the smog. Then China has the world's largest smog tower and has reduced the particulate matter 2.5 by 19%. So here we can see the smog tower of China. Then come to next, conversion of the coal to methanol. So in Hyderabad, the first indigenously designed high ash coal gasification based methanol production plant was launched recently. So in Hyderabad, they have been constructing a plant to convert the high ash coal into methanol. So friends, we know that in India, we get the brown coal or the high ash coal. So the ash content in coal is more. So that's why they are converting that into ethanol. So that means, so from ethanol, we can gain more energy rather than burning the coal and getting the ash, or might be burning the coal and creating greenhouse gases. And then the BHEL, that is Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, has demonstrated another plant to produce methanol from the same high ash Indian coal. Then how the process? The broad process of converting coal into methanol consists of conversion of coal into synthesis gas or the syngas, and then the syngas is then cleaned and conditioned, and then the syngas is converted into methanol, and then the methanol is purified. Friends, here syngas is the mixture of the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon monoxide and other gases, and when this gas is then compressed and pressurized, so we will get some gases which are made up of again the carbon and hydrogen compounds, and then if we wet it in water, so we will get methanol. So in that we can purify that methanol and we can use it. So here is a brief plant on which we are obtaining the methanol. So here we are giving the natural gas, that is the CH4 methane, and then we are adding some components and then we are heating it. So the synthetic gas is produced here, and this synthetic gas, so they will be undergoing various procedures to get methanol. So remember the formula of methanol, that is CH3OH. So this is obtained with the syngas, which is again a mixture of the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So all these components are present in the syngas. Okay, so this is a good idea to convert coal into methanol. And then the COP26 highlights, that is the Conference of Parties 26, the Glasgow Summit of UNFCCC. So the highlights of that is to secure the global net zero emission by the mid-century and keep the 1.5 degrees of heat within the reach, and then to come forward with an ambitious 2030 emissions reductions target to reach the net zero emissions, and then accelerate the phase out of coal, so completely phasing out of coal, and then the curtailing of deforestation. So we are going to curtail deforestation to the best possible extent. Then speed up the switch to electric vehicles. So here again the proper targets are not being given, only that speeding up. Then encourage investments in renewable sources of energy. Again, not so fixed target. Then developed countries must make good on their promises to mobilize at least the US $100 billion in climate finance per year. So they have not been meeting this promise. So developing countries, so they urged this one. Then another important task at the COP26 is to finalize the Paris rule book. So Paris rule book, so how the INDCs should be measured and what is the stock take procedure. So all those things will be formulated. So here remember, for the net zero emission, we have the target, that is by 2050 net zero emission, that is mid-century, and then 1.5 degrees Celsius. So apart from that, no fixed target is being stipulated. Then the OSMART and across initiatives. So OSMART means, that is Ocean Services Modeling Application Resources and Technology. So that means this scheme is basically regarding the ocean research. So here this OSMART provides the forecast and services based on the continuous oceanographic research activities. Then it promotes front-ranking research in the ocean sciences. Then the scheme develops technologies and conducts exploratory surveys to harness the ocean resources sustainably. And here the OSMART merges many other schemes, that is the Ocean Modeling and Advisory Services, and then Ocean Observation Network, then Ocean Non-Living Resources, then the Marine Living Resources and Ecology Scheme, then the Coastal Research and Operation and Maintenance of Research Vessels. So all these are the schemes which are being merged under this OSMART. And then who are the implementing agencies of OSMART? So it will be implemented by Ministry of Earth Sciences. So mark this as important. And then other institutes are National Institute of Ocean Technology, and then Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services (INCOIS), and then the National Center for Coastal Research, then the Center for Marine Living Resources and Ecology, and then the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research (GOA). So here make sure that all these, so they are present in the coastal states. Okay, so these are some of the facts regarding OSMART. Then coming to across. So across means Atmosphere and Climate Research Modeling Observation Services. So here the across scheme is basically related to atmosphere. So it is an atmospheric science program of Ministry of Earth Sciences again. So mark this as important. Then it addresses the different aspects of weather and climate services, namely the warning, then warning for the cyclones, then storm surges, heat waves, thunderstorms and others. Then the scheme will provide improved weather, climate and ocean forecast. Okay, so in the atmosphere, so what are the weather forecasting that happens? So all those, the temperature, humidity, pressure will be forecasted here. Then come to next, India's performance in curbing ozone. Okay, so India completely phased out the production and combustion of chlorofluorocarbons, then carbon tetrachloride and the halogens. So mark these three. Then India has reduced 25,000 tons of ozone depleting particles, and further it has promised to reduce a potential of 23,000 tons more. And then carbon tetrachloride is being replaced with the tetrachloroethane. So mark this. So this tetrachloroethane is not as harmful as the carbon tetrachloride. And then manufacturers of metered dose inhalers have completely been transitioning to the ozone friendly ones. Okay, so here make sure that the manufacturers of metered dose inhalers, so these were the ones which were one of the culprits of the ozone depletion. And then as a next step, India is planning to phase out the hydrofluorocarbons by 2030. So even the HCFCs we are phasing out. Friends, here we remember the Kigali Agreement or the Kigali Amendment to Ozone. So here it is like earlier we were curbing the chlorofluorocarbons. So instead of chlorofluorocarbons, we used hydrofluorocarbons. And these hydrofluorocarbons, so they are not depleting the ozone, but they are the greenhouse gases and they will promote global warming. So to curb that, so India is again, it has agreed to the Kigali Amendment to Montreal Protocol, and then it is phasing out the HCFCs also. Then India became one of the first countries in the world to launch a comprehensive India Cooling Action Plan. So in the India Cooling Action Plan, we are trying to have the air coolers and refrigerators which are not using the chlorofluorocarbons and which work without using these compounds. So these are some of the performances. And then come to next, the frothing of Yamuna. So recently in the Chhat Puja festival, so there was an issue that Yamuna river water is frothing. So why a river water froze? So that is due to presence of the surfactants and the phosphates. So when surfactants and the phosphate chemicals, so they are released by the detergents and the leather tanning industries and others. So when they flow in water, frothing occurs, and moreover in the lean season, that is in winter season, the quantity of water will also be less. So that is why the frothing effect increased. And for the curbing of this, one expert committee was appointed by the Ministry of Environment, and that gave some recommendation. So that is to bar solid wastes, then garbage dumps and encroachments into Yamuna river, and then the river zoning of Yamuna. So we have to zone, we have to map various zones, like this is a ghat, this is a conservation area, so this is fit for laundries. So here we have to make sure that we should curb the wastes. So such mapping if we do, so then we can curb the frothing and also the pollution of river water. Then the Yamuna Riverfront Development Scheme. So that means wherever the dirt is there, we are cleaning that dirt and we are making sure that so a beautiful ghats, then the beautiful places for usage, better usage of Yamuna river will be developed. Okay, so just like the Namami Gange scheme, so here also we have various steps to go with. Then the Central Air Quality Commission. The Supreme Court approved the measures taken by the Centre's Air Quality Commission to create an enforcement task force and flying squads to prevent and penalize polluters in Delhi. Okay, so here some facts about the Centre's Air Quality Commission. The Commission for Air Quality Management in the National Capital Region and the Adjoining Areas Act. So this establishes the Centre's Air Quality Commission. So remember this act, the NCR and the Adjoining Areas, the Control of Air Quality Act. And then the objective of the commission is for better coordination, research, identification and resolution of the problems related to air quality in the NCR and the adjoining areas. Adjoining areas here means Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan and UP. Then it also dissolves the Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority established in the NCR in 1998. So this was a non-statutory body established, so that will be dissolved, and now the Centre's Air Quality Commission, which is a statutory body, that will be working in this regard. Then come to next, the Global Risk Report. So recently the World Economic Forum, so that has released the Global Risk Report. So it describes changes occurring in the global risks landscape from year to year and identifies the global catastrophic risks. And then it aims to highlight the risks and consequences of widening inequalities due to COVID-19 pandemic in 2021 and also in the next decade. So how this inequality, how that affects the environment. So here again we recall Indira Gandhi's, that is the poverty is the big polluter, and then the risk posed by infectious diseases has been ranked as number 1 in the list of that risk. So here, as it was a COVID year, so obviously that becomes the greatest risk. Then, despite the impact of COVID-19, climate related matters make up the bulk of this year's risk list. So although we had lockdowns, but still the environmental damage was considerable. So it was not a complete no for the environmental damage, even if all the human beings were inside. Then the report has described these threats as an existential threat to humanity. So but obvious, a matter of caution. Then digitalization, which was accelerated by the pandemic, is widening the digital gap between the individuals and across the country. So here the report not only looks into the environmental damage and risk, it is also looking to the digital gap. And here we can see that it is also looking into inequalities. So make sure that it does not only look into the environment per se, but also to other social risks also. So these are some of the things. And then come to the last part, friends. So ultimately, the very aim of perfection, the very aim of gaining knowledge is that you will understand the true problems of the people and you will get ideas to solve them. Okay. So for that, even if you are an IAS or an IPS, and even if you are not one, so that doesn't matter. So the day once you get to know, or the day when you learn that when a person is crying, so if you get to know why he is crying, or if you get to know the very meaning of the tears, so even before he comes and shares that to you, so at that point of time you became a bureaucrat or you became a leader. Okay. So strive for that stage of life and try gaining the knowledge for achieving that stage. So do it. All the very best. Good luck, friends.